Right, we're going to come back here to the UK now and talk about facial recognition technology, because there are calls for the police and private companies too, actually, to stop using it straight away. Now, these calls come from MPs and privacy campaigners today. Let's just take a look at how this all works. So, live facial recognition cameras can scan people's faces when they're out and about in public. Then they can use artificial intelligence, AI, to basically compare the images that it's captured of people with effectively a watch list or a database that's available to it. It is a controversial technology with plenty of different arguments on both sides. We can speak now to Silkie Carlo, director of the campaigning group Big Brother Watch, and Dr. Ashraf GK as well, senior lecturer in AI, artificial intelligence at Brunel University. Thanks both for coming on the programme. Really appreciate it. Let's start with Big Brother Watch's perspective on it here. What's the problem with this technology?
This is a privacy-altering technology that really changes the shape of the society in which we live. It has the potential to affect the presumption of innocence, certainly our right to privacy, protesters' rights, and it also takes up significant police resource, and we've seen that so far they haven't actually had very much success using it whatsoever. But certainly from a human rights point of view and trying to prevent discrimination when we've already got really serious problems in policing with that, this is a technology that has enormous potential to do real harm, and in fact it already has. I regularly go and watch the police using live facial recognition and see that disproportionately they misidentify young black boys in London. So this is something that certainly needs a wider democratic debate, parliamentary scrutiny before it's simply used at the scale that it's currently being used. And that's what all the parliamentarians and rights and race equality groups are calling for today, an urgent stop whilst these things are considered.
OK, really interesting. A kind of broad general point on privacy, but also a very, very specific criticism in part of that bias and its failures in certain specific instances. Let's go to Ashraf GK. What do you make of those arguments?
Thank you. So there are so many things mentioned right there, and I'll just try to address some of them. So I think whether the technology should be banned should be out of question. I don't think there is a strong evidence to ban a technology which has shown to have significant benefit in terms of enhancing public safety and effective investigation of crimes. I don't know where she got the data about the police use so far from, but in the UK, police have been to some extent successful in arresting people who were suspected of violent crimes using facial recognition. After having studied several deployments by South Wales Police, researchers from the University of Cardiff have concluded that the evidence suggests that the technology contributes to police identifying persons of interest that they would otherwise have not been able to do so. And I have studied multiple deployments by myself, and there were a number of arrests that were made by using the technology. So I think the technology has indeed benefits in terms of enhancing public safety, but privacy violation is, of course, a concern, but privacy right, as we know, is not an absolute right. The European Convention...
Let's put that right then. We have the right to privacy, of course, but it's not absolute, Silkie Carlo, and there are cases where this is proving successful in keeping us safer.
Well, first of all, I want to say that the case for a ban on live facial recognition is a very strong one. It's such a strong one that the European Union is currently passing a ban on live facial recognition. In fact, that's the trend in the democratic world. That's what many American cities have done too. So it's certainly something serious that the UK should be looking at. In terms of the success rate and the accuracy, where we get our figures from is from the police themselves, and they actually publish them. So we do freedom of information requests, but now the police proactively publish these figures, and the Cardiff report that was referred to also found a very high degree of inaccuracy You're absolutely right. There have been a small number of arrests, but bear in mind that millions and millions of pounds has been spent on this technology, that when it's deployed, there are 20 or so police officers out with iPads looking down at screens waiting for matches. So in terms of the kind of input to the gain that police are getting, it's not there. For example, at a sporting event recently in Northamptonshire, almost 500,000 people's faces were scanned. 400,000 people had their faces scanned, and there wasn't a single match. It's, privacy isn't an absolute right, but you have to be proportionate about how you do things. And to have that level of intrusion, basically treating members of the public like they're in a police lineup, is absolutely extraordinary. We see it in China, we see it in Russia and Saudi Arabia. I don't think we should see this in Britain.
Well, let's go back to Astras. What do you make of that? Do you have concerns too about that number of people's faces being scanned like that?
Thank you. I think in the light of the fact that this technology is used to investigate crime and to identify usually violent offenders with outstanding arrest warrants, or in some cases to locate vulnerable persons such as missing children, the infringement upon our privacy is something that we should be able to live with. In the first place, this technology is deployed in areas where the public are likely to have low privacy expectation. They are not being deployed in areas such as schools, healthcare centers, religious centers, or any other gathering places where the public have a high privacy expectation. These are simply public squares, and there is simply nothing interesting to the police that individuals in these kinds of places would be doing. So to call it intrusive is, I think, an overstatement. Also, we know that there are some limitations to the technology's capability. It doesn't automatically record and save our facial images or personal data. Only persons that are matched the faces of persons that are matched are saved on some kind of database, and even after that it is deleted automatically. So I think the privacy infringement is overstated, and security outweighed in this case. Yeah.
Astras Gike and Silkie Carlo, it's a crucial debate to be having. Thank you both very much indeed for coming on. I just want to give the Home Office statement on this. The government was committed to making sure police have the tools and technology they need to solve and prevent crimes, bring offenders to justice and keep people safe. Facial recognition, including live facial recognition, has a sound legal basis, and that's been confirmed by the courts. As I mentioned, a crucial debate that will keep raging, no doubt.